player goes unchecked.
Hey guys, welcome back to SCS's now closed qualifier. Well, we're actually not going to a full game. It's the third map as we're kind of, transitioning in between the first round and the second round of closed qualifiers. But I am Lyros, and joining me is Suga. And like I said, this is the third map between Frijoles and Turbo & Co.
Yeah, it just so happens that the map is Oregon.
Oh, well.
Sorry. Sorry.
Gosh darn it. Of course it has to be that one darn map everyone knows. But yeah, going to these teams, we can obviously, Turbo & Co. being at the top of the standings in the open qualifier, they have a lot to prove, but you got Turbo, Carnage, those are players from CL, and then the other side of Frijoles, some names that probably jump out to you, maybe Native, Dally, Anti, so you do see some famous faces just kind of battling back and forth.
Yeah, I know Psychosis as well. I think I've casted him a little bit in like some NA league, but Dally is someone who I'm familiar with. Not really the rest of Frijoles, like Stuff, Native, Placata, and Anti. Carnage B, of course, CL God, I know him. And then, yeah. I think I'm more familiar with Turbo & Co. than I am with Frijoles. The only one that I know on Frijoles is Dally, of course.
Yeah, Turbo & Co. has some of those CL players, so they have a little bit of a reputation to defend. But we're like I said before, we are technically going to a map 3, so going to like the quote-unquote map ban screen, we'll talk about the previous score that these teams were in, and it was 8-7. I believe in that first map, and then you had, Chalet was 8-7. You did see Frijoles just barely squeak that one out, and then Clubhouse was the exact opposite with 7-1 for Turbo & Co. So they are coming hot off that second map, going straight into Oregon.
Yeah, Oregon is a kind of a finicky one, going from like Chalet, then to Clubhouse, then to Oregon. Chalet having a very different playstyle than Clubhouse and Oregon. Clubhouse is kind of like 50-50 when it comes to both the attack and defense, whereas Oregon is a little bit more defender-sided, but Clubhouse is like probably the most structured map in a map pool. Oregon is structured as well, so if Turbo & Co. have won that dominantly on Clubhouse, I wonder what Oregon is going to look like.
Yeah, it's kind of hard to shake that off. Well, I think we weren't able to see it, but even with the scoreline of 8-7, you have to think that, maybe one or two different plays, we could be looking at a 2-0. But both of these teams, I want to make sure that I've got it right, they will be going on to play the Favelas versus HK Rebels, which I believe is in the middle of a potential map 3. So already, the closed qualifiers are providing some surprising results. I think on the mainstream, which we've kind of been able to see, we actually see Lycus on series point over Stay Safe on the second map. So, we're still going on over here, but I know that one's almost done. And, well, we're just kind of waiting for everything to get set up. I'm just excited to see what the rest of these qualifiers are going to hold, Sugar.
Yeah, no, of course there's been some giants in the qualifiers, the open and the closed qualifiers that already like just a little bit, like Favelas, for example, having like 2 losses in the open qualifiers when people expected them to like kind of make it through comfortably. And they did make it through the closed qualifiers quite comfortably. They just had some surprising results against some other teams in those open qualifiers, which a lot of people just did not expect. Who else is in here? LSR has had a good run as well. I'm surprised for them because like of the luck that JJ has when it comes to like qualifying for a lot of things. Apart from like FFCL and like the DAO, but like other like top tier leagues like CL, for example, I know he's had like some issues and some unluckiness with that. So to see him kind of like make it in SCS is kind of heartwarming to see. But looks like we are gonna go head into this Oregon, and well, judging by last map, Light Rose, what do you expect to see on Oregon?
Also of blind reaction, I have to say Turbo & Co. are gonna get that, because the 7-1 is a brutal scoreline, and you only get that way by honestly just beating your opponent down. And I think Clubhouse and Oregon are kind of the same in teams know their way around these maps. They've been in the map pool forever. Nothing much, too much has changed. I think we had some changes to Clubhouse like maybe a year ago or such, but overall just the same strategies, the way that it's implemented, everything is mostly the same, and I expect Turbo & Co to take advantage of that more than Frijoles.
Yeah. You barely make it out on a map that's like really chaotic like Chalet, or it can get chaotic. You do have some decent matches on Chalet, and then you have matches where everything just goes to hell. Like, it's crazy how inconsistent that map can be, but I do love Chalet. I also kind of like Oregon a little bit. I know we get to see it a lot, and I know it's quite common nowadays in comp, or not even nowadays. It's been like a staple in the map pool and competitive. But I like Oregon. I like kind of like seeing the way that teams innovate their own strategies and their own play styles on Oregon, because you have some teams who are like really, really structured. They like to move slow. They like to clear out the whole map. And then you have some teams who just kind of like book it and go straight for the jugular, straight for the site. So I like Oregon for that reason, and I'm excited to see what we get between both of these teams.
I think Oregon can sometimes allow for individual players to flourish, like the way that the map is kind of structured. Maybe you'll have a defender hang out in Freezer, or actually looking in that Freezer soft wall that is able to hold down the fort. Maybe you've got a player in Trophy just shooting inside of dorms that just opens the round wide open. So individual plays are something that will be probably common among SCS, because there are a lot of star players among a lot of these teams.
Yeah. You're right.
Yeah.
I know. I remember I casted with Crow. It's kind of fun casting with Crow. He's a character. I'll give him that. I like him.
Yeah, there was you were choosing your words there. He's a character, but
he got upset because I said I hated Porter, and I didn't explain why.
Porter, for me, it's kind of a hit or miss map. I like seeing teams. I think Bathroom Tellers is really exciting. Armory, seeing that's a little but some of the sites are definitely interesting to see. But enough small. It is probably one of the last maps of the first round, well, of the closed qualifiers. So we should have more results for you as the map continues on. But Turbo & Co, Frijoles, both of these teams continuing to fight for their spot in SCS. They've got a map and another series to go before they can secure that.
Well, it all starts here on the Oregon. We get to see the first ban, and I mean, it shouldn't come to no surprises to anyone, because Nook, especially in this season of Operation Grim Sky, or not season, this operation as it's most commonly called, but in this operation of Grim Sky, Nook has been so commonly banned just because she has those added bonus with the EMP impacts, but also because she has those nades, she has the lurk potential, and on a big map like Oregon, she can be quite punishing to players who are just kind of roaming around the map trying to do their own thing. Ying makes a lot of sense as well. Very execution based. I'm not complaining with a ban here on Oregon for her.
And I do want to inform you that the Lycus game has finished. Lycus did beat Stay Safe 7-5, so a 2-0 for them. So yeah, that's a huge upset. I think Stay Safe was the favorite coming out of that group. So now you have no reason to not leave. You got to stay here, finish this map up, and well, then you can continue on. We'll watch whatever stream you want, but stay tuned, because I mean, I think this should be, the emphasis on should be, an exciting map, as long as Frijoles are going to be able to contend with Turbo & Co.
You get to see the last two bands as well, Valk and Mira. I like how you said,
pretty standard.
Yeah, I like how you said you're gonna have to stay here and watch us.
You're
not even giving them a choice. Just like
there is no choice. There's no choice.
That's nice, like that.
They're stuck in a room with us.
Attackers need to locate and defuse.
I don't think that'd be terrifying. Anyways, first site is going to be basement for Turbo & Co, as they do start defense here on Oregon. And when I look at their operator lineup, especially when you look at the Warden, you look at the Smoke, obviously their focus is going to be towards the pillar/elbow area of the basement site. And then you also have that Azami. And I'm curious to see where she's going to play, whether she's going to be staying hunkered down in basement, maybe playing towards the freezer laundry area, or if she's just going to be playing maybe inside of meetings supported by her group of areas. It looks like for the most part, she's not
10 seconds left.
upstairs, and maybe just gonna hunker down on site with the rest of her team.
5 seconds left.
Yeah, I mean, it can be good to kind of play off the site with people. I think dining might be an area where you'll see Turbo and Co. bunker down because, well, they do have a little bit of that destruction. They have these alibi prismas to give some level of information. So we'll see what the plan is for the defense, as having a roam a little bit on the basement site can be, well, a detriment, as now you're just going to see Spiker gone within 20 seconds. That is a huge burn-in, just gone from Frijoles. If they can drone out, might get rid of him. That's 2 players off the board, but so far, it might be a misdrone. He is not intent on moving, so you have to think that, yeah, they do not see his position.
They're gonna send out another drone. That one most definitely spot him. He's gonna try and get away. Anti doesn't swing quick enough. Okay, never mind. He got the kill just in time. So in just under a minute, we see the roam here from Turbo and Co. cleared out almost instantly. And Frijoles has so much of the map to work with. Turbo and Co are going to be stuck in this 3v5, trying to maybe have these last 2 players at least on this top floor, maybe contest before gunfights, find a trade, and then move back to site. That's what I see from Turbo, and that's what I also saw from RP on the top, or well, now in the meeting. They're still droning out this first floor, so they're still trying to get a feel for it, but for the most part, Frijoles are in a really good spot.
I mean, that's why you might not have a roamer on the basement, is because it takes a lot of time to actually get set up for the execution on this site, and you risk something that Turbo and Co just did. You lose 2 players that now cannot help in the execution, and it makes winning this round that much harder. So the plan for Turbo and Co has to be radically changed.
Nade are going to be thrown just to clear the lockers area, or behind the lockers. For the most part, the positioning here from Turbo and Co is just to, well, win their gunfights, win Frijoles try and enter the site, because at the moment, they don't really have a lot of utility to counter the play. Actually, I lied. They do have 4 pieces of utility, 3 smoke grenades, or 3 toxic nades, and also 1 nade in the closet area, correctly positioned in that area, just to toss it in towards that default plant spot on the ace site. Execution gonna come in with about 40 seconds to go. Frijoles are just kind of running low on time. May help out Turbo and Co a little bit.
Yeah, but they do have 2 less players to work through. There goes Turbo finding one inside a freezer. Is Placata gonna be next? No. They get shot out, and well, it's only Jaeger left in the 1v3. Impossible in that situation. As Frijoles, well, they matched their time on the previous map, so already, well, I think they're doing better. Well, you know, we didn't see it, but so far that was an impressive round for them.
Yeah, they did a good job of clearing the roam out early and then just making their way on side of site. It was a little bit scary at the end there, especially when time started to get a little bit low and you saw Turbo and Co set up their positionings just to hold entry points around the site. Again, time was getting a little bit low. You saw Turbo get 1 kill inside the small closet area, but then he got immediately refragged, and then Frijoles completely took over the site from there. I would have liked to not see so much commitment on the roam there from Turbo and Co, because when they made that much commitment on the roam, they gave up bodies way too early on, and I wonder if maybe they need to bring an operator that can help them deny the information game that comes out early from Frijoles, maybe like a mute, which they are bringing in this round, so maybe that would help on the roam.
Yeah, so right now, Mike and Spiker seeming like they're a little bit more restrained to the site. Frijoles may not have the advantage that they once had. If, well, so far, Spiker, Mikey, don't do the same thing you did in the previous round, because it clearly did not end well. But at least they're playing a little bit more conservatively. Like,
yeah,
you're not seeing Spiker all the way over in showers or dining. At least they're a little bit more held back towards the kitchen meeting. So it's going to take just a smidge more from Frijoles to actually deal with them.
Yep. Like I mentioned, I like the mute pick because it helps deny a lot of intel here from Frijoles. It's going to slow down their roam clear tremendously. I feel like a lot of people don't understand the value of a mute until he's either banned, you don't bring him, or he's on the board and he's completely countering your team. But
True.
Looks like they're all stacked up, or at least 3 almost half of the Frijoles roster stacked up towards construction. And they already got rid of the construct shield or elbow shield, as he just moved straight into the area that Lion is going to allow them to claim this space early. There's nobody in pillars watching the run into construction, and you see 2 players already dealt with them.
The attackers bombed diffuser.
Frijoles is just taking advantage of the fact that Turbo was not ready, and it's clearly showing now, as once again the defense are just a little bit down. It is only a 1-man advantage, but that could be changed as Mikey swings right back, but it's not going to be without one from Dally. Spiker on the stairs, a little bit of a flank. Could change things for the better from Turbo as that diffuser has hit the ground. Frijoles has to go pick it up, but look who's watching. Spiker, he actually abandons his post after throwing a C4, so now it's mainly just gonna have to be Rip who has to defend. He takes down Anti, brings out the pistol, and can win it off of the 2-3 shots from the P12. So Turbo and co, it looked dire at the beginning, but the quality of this team is just too strong.
Yeah. That was just crazy, right? Because at the beginning of that, it was like really chaotic in a way that it started for Frijoles taking quick control of Pillar after realizing that, hey, look, they're wasting our time on this roam clear, so we might as well just go straight for site and book it. That's exactly what they did. There was no hold in Pillar, or no hold in D-Box, at least from Turbo and Co., which is kind of weird because they had reinforcements enforcing that ability to play in those positions. And Frijoles weren't going for meeting hatches neither to make it harder to play any box, nor were they going for like rear stairs either to make it harder to play in Harry Potter or Shaiko. And nobody was there for Turbo and Co. But the retake there from the last 2 players relied from Turbo and Co. Especially, I want to say, what's that on the mute? Spiker?
Yeah, Spiker was on the mute.
Yeah, so really good retake from him on those rear stairs, able to get 2 picks for his liking, and then it was a bit weird that he abandoned his post on main stairs or on those rear stage stairs, but I understand it because he was getting pressure from like at least 2 separate players from Frijoles, and plus he was isolated away from his teammate. I get it.
Alright, so some changes on Turbo. You're seeing Mikey pop off the Azami and pick up the Alibi. Spiker now on his 3rd different operator of the map. You've got, Capcan, Cayenne, there's a lot of explosives coming out from Turbo. They only have 2 C4s, and interesting enough, they don't have a smoke on dorms, which usually is a staple of that site. So we'll have to see if, well, Turbo and Coke walk away with a victory without potentially the most iconic operator on defense. One staple of Turbo and Co. is just really how aggressive they are on this roam. Mikey not stepping away from small tower until he is thoroughly put the amount of pressure that he wants onto Frijoles, so not really taking any much damage himself. He can back up, have some assistance of Spiker, and maybe have some satisfaction in that. Well, and even though it wasn't Spiker, it wasn't Mikey, you still walk away with an opponent kill.
Yeah, that swing from RP just completely took Native off guard as he falls outside of the window, taking 2 nades away from the attack and only giving them 1 to deal with. Plus, it takes off some pressure on one side of the map of that kitchen corridor. And so now that Native falls, they don't really have that 2-pronged push inside of kitchen like they would have won. But it doesn't matter because right now, or well, it still does. Well, now it doesn't because the rest of Turbo and Co have completely cleared out of this area. But at least on the other side of the map, we see Sta get 1 onto RP, evening out the man count.
I think that you have to look at the time here, Suga, because you still have Mikey around. You still have Spiker by the classroom, so Frijoles can kind of focus onto the site, but there's still this looming thought of roamers just hanging around Z hallway that could always just emerge at the last second. So Frijoles can never truly commit, and every second is slowly just gonna be dripped away from the clock. And well, I mean, well, they're dealt with like that. Spiker now gone. Potentially Mikey will follow if he tries to take over where Spiker failed, but who knows? Frijoles, they have 1 shot at this. They aren't really pressing the go button just yet. We're seeing bodies fall every which way. We're back at a 2v2, so all equaled up. But honestly, it's Turbo and Co. who have the advantage. They have that third man, the timer, and it's going to be their best friend in this situation. Carnage doesn't fall, but Dally abandons the Kaid to find a wonderful shot onto the last player. So Frijoles, everything just seemed in command, in control at the last second.
Yeah, I mean, man, that's unfortunate for Turbo and Co. because it was quite literally just Turbo and Co. He literally had him and his own teammate inside a site, and they just couldn't clutch up at the right moment. It seemed like the player inside of Kids was a little bit late to help his teammate combat the White Stairs player, and they just, again, got isolated in their gunfights in the last few seconds. But the entry there from Frijoles on the actual site itself looked a little bit troubling from, like, the beginning. Like you mentioned, I felt like the roam as disruptive as I thought it would have been. They did find those 2 kills that, you know, there is the ever-looming thought, of course, and all that good stuff, but the roamers didn't really have any impact on that actual round. It was just the site players who almost clutched it up for their team. Getting those isolated 1v1s as Frijoles kind of challenged the main inside of the site one by one. But at the end of that, again, like you mentioned, a dominant into that round, and Frijoles themselves up 2-1.
You know, the roamers had like a large presence, but I think Frijoles just choosing to ignore them, taking out, you know, one of them, leaving the other one to kind of rot by that first floor. Maybe that was a recipe for success, but I mean, what is it about Alibi? Just whoever's playing the Alibi is like, I must play by Diner. I must peek by Small Tower. It is a part of who I am.
It's the gun. It's the gun, and then she has the Bela to make destruction a little bit easier for herself, plus the shields to help you hold on to power positions. I don't see where is the shield, because they're not holding on to trophy. They like to roam around the map, Tubber and Co. I'm noticing that, but they're not really holding on to power positions, at least on the second floor they aren't. They're just kind of like hoping to pull off flanks and catch Frijoles off guard, it seems, on their own roam.
To note, Frijoles are just kind of ignoring that first floor. There must have been some drones on Turbo, because it just seemed like Sta had his number from the beginning. So now Turbo go have to work with a man down. Frijoles are essentially knocking on the door of the site, and finally you're gonna see the rest of Turbo just come back to the site. Spiker's potentially going to be going on a flank, but Frijoles have to have information. And you see the Yana looking behind her, knowing that, yeah, here comes Spiker, the one, the only. And, well, Turbo and Co., their chances, I think, hinge on the fact of whether or not Spiker will have any impact, whether or not the anchors of Turbo can actually waste some more time, because Frijoles have so much to deal with. But it's on a knife's edge at this point. One small mistake from Turbo and Co. will just allow Frijoles to flood the site.
Yeah, we talked about it in the last round, or at least I mentioned it before this round even started, that I felt like in the last round there wasn't really a lot of impact from the roamers, and I'm feeling that right now. Somebody could just be watching Blink here from Frijoles, and that could be the end of Spiker, but nobody is! They had a literal drone downstairs. Nobody spotted him out on that drone, and the lack of intel on that drone could be the end here for Frijoles, but a flurry of kills. The scoreline beams blue and orange. We end up in a 1v1 between Carnage and Anti-Zap. Or Anti-Zap. Jesus Christ, these names.
Yeah, I mean, it's Anti. It's the Anti. Well, I mean, it leaves the 2 players that they've got a lot of fame behind that name. Carnage knows that that is a Gemini clone, so shooting it or not really doesn't matter at this stage in the game. As now, what the real player, and he is gonna shoot you straight in the face. So Anti allows Frijoles to get that 3-round little checkpoint, and it means that they will at least be tied in this split, but you can tell they're hungry for more.
Whew. These rounds are exciting. I'm liking it.
I mean, it's SCS closed quals. You're kind of getting to like peak T3 here. Got it.
Attackers need to locate and
That's true.
as many bombs as they can.
I haven't had the opportunity to cast any, actually, no, that's not true. That probably is true. I don't remember. I'm not gonna lie to you. Look, I did cast Stay Safe. I casted Above the Law as well. They both played against each other, and I remember that match quite vividly. But to kind of see it, Turbo and Co and Frijoles in action. To see like T3, T2 level players play against each other is like a whole different feel, because before this, I wasn't like casting T3. I wasn't really casting T2. I was mainly like I was casting like T4 EU and also
Yeah.
Collegiate. And Collegiate is a different beast.
It's a very different tier.
Animal.
Yeah, no.
Not in a good way.
Going from collegiate, which I mean, there are some very good collegiate teams, collegiate
Yeah.
players. I mean, Taco as well on the production. We all know NC State, the R6 dominators. But I mean, you got some collegiate teams that definitely can show their face. But again, Mikey and Spiker, by Showers and Dining, will not stray from this position, as drones for sure have spotted them. So you will see the tactical retreat, but I mean, Spiker not. I think the amount of damage Spiker took, it's honestly meaningless at this point. It might mean like one less bullet will actually put him down, but I think the fact that Native kind of got to the white stairs and feels like he's playing like like he's not supposed to be in that situation and trying to catch one of these roamers, but well, we can see it. The nearest player's probably one floor below him.
It's a distinct difference between the last basement roam and this roam on basement, or not even this roam, because there is no roam from Turbo and Co. They're not really battling out for map control like they did in the first few rounds here on basement. And I mean, on basement, when they were going for those roams, it didn't work, you know? They lost players early, or they gave up like a completely different part of the map that was like completely close to sight. So this time they've opted to just stay on site instead. And I think that's a good call. And you want to play more of a default roam. Maybe not overcommit so much. Play the Azami on site itself and try and play behind those keeper barriers. Make your own angles and slow the attack down. Maybe even waste their own time droning the whole map, because that's what Frijoles are doing. They're doing that a lot. Like, they waste their own time droning out the whole map and clear it. And right now, Turbo and Cole just not giving them those early gunfights are working in their favor so much because of how the time is working against Frijoles right now. What the hell? Oh, sorry. I thought that was the attack. My fault. Like,
They're just suddenly spawn in the site. No, you've got Placata. We've seen them hang out by this position, but well, Turbo and Co dropping the Jaeger first. You're gonna have one less player having to watch pillars, so another player is actually going to have to fill the shoes of that Jaeger, and that means that there's going to be a lot less eyes over by Laundry, over by Freezer, and the split push from Frijoles could become that much more effective. A win from Frijoles could really ice Turbo and Co in this position as Anti claims his second of the round. This time it's Dally, but I mean, the result is still the same. It's still Turbo and Co dropping bodies left, right, and center. It leaves Spiker in a 1v5. He'll have to get a post-plant clutch. Ace is 1/5 of the way there, 20%. Well, that remaining 80%, it is going to be a struggle to finish this one out. He cannot get the second, so Frijoles continue their dominance on the attack. They get 4, and now they're starting to show that they want to continue in this qualifier.
despite the change up in the setup for Turbo and Co, them opting for a more turtle heavy strat in basement, they literally, the only reason why they lost that round was because of gunfights. That's it. Every single entry has gone in the way of Frijoles. And we need to see Turbo and Co find their way on the scoreboard besides Spiker. Everybody besides Spiker and RP is negative, and it really should be more of a team effort. Because even with Spiker and RP like having like not really good stats, but you know, decent stats at least, it doesn't really matter when not everyone is like firing on the board for Turbo and Co. And we see everybody on Frijoles just shooting and hitting their shots, apart from Native, who's like one. And again, I like the change up in the strategy on basement. It was just quite literally the only reason why Turbo and Co were let themselves down on that round was because of the gunfights. They just couldn't win a single one. Now we get to see them meeting in a kitchen. I like this site. I like it better than kitchen dining.
Yeah, it seems to be a favorite among teams, but
Yeah.
noticeably absent, an operator that is constantly shown on this site is Echo. He's able to just kind of hide those yokai drones, get them by that little table area that our observer is showing, and just deny plants. But I mean, we're seeing the more Goyo as plant denial. That just seems to see something that Turbo and Co do not really want to have. Is this plant denial? They're more wanting utility denial, information denial, something that, well, might have an advantage in the middle and early rounds, but who knows if the late rounds will be defined by their lack of denial, as seems that Mikey has been spotted. How much longer will they be able to survive? But does Frijoles know that Carnage is over by these towers? There's a lot of what-ifs in this first round, and well, Turbo and Co, they need to come away with a positive in these engagements.
It's crazy that a minute has gone by. They know that Mikey is here in T3 and they haven't cleared him out yet. So that tells me that, their main focus isn't like a meeting execute, because that's not where most of their teammates are. That's not where most of the utility is going. It's actually going towards the second floor. A lot of kills seemingly raining on the board. Frijoles are a little bit separated from each other. They're taking their ones and they're winning them, but so are Turbo and Co, and so they have to keep that in mind. We get into a minute and 25, and it doesn't really seem like there's any straightforward focus for this attack for Frijoles.
Kinda bubbling around. I mean, Anti is all alone. We don't even know where Lagana and Dally are, so I guess this round is going to be defined by a lot of individual 1v1s, and there's a good chance Frijoles could still walk away with it, but I think Turbo Co still have somewhat of the advantage. We finally are able to spot Dally. As I believe we just saw Anti actually enter the site, take a lot of damage from those Goyo canisters, so they just have to back off into the classroom. But now on the other side, you've got Placata just walk on in, find one, but Mikey is going to be able to clean up that Osa. Frijoles, they have an advantage. HP might really push them over the edges. Anti just has to walk through that Goyo fire, and Mikey is waiting right across the fire and the flames. Dally has to go through a 1v2, completely possible. The amount of time that is on the clock still gives Frijoles a good chance in this situation, as now Dally is going to peek right around the corner. Will he catch RP by surprise? No, RP might have heard him. He does. Takes out Dally and makes Turbo and Co just a little less wounded, but they still have a large gap they need to fill.
Even despite Frijoles looking a little bit disjointed in that round, they still make it close somehow, some way. Just getting isolated frags, no matter where you saw players like set up on the top of main stairs. You saw players kind of like fumbling around, playing with their toes over by Big Tower. You saw like another player by White Stairs, by security. It was all over the place from Frijoles, but they still make it very close. They weren't, for me, it didn't really seem like they were back for a specific part of the map or a specific area. They didn't have a specific push in mind. They just wanted to have a feel for the round without really doing much of anything. That round was a whole lot of nothing for Frijoles, but they almost got that through. We are going to head into a timeout for Turbo and Co as they do make that big switch to the attack. And I mean, they are at a deficit of 4-2. They won the tertiary site, a site that usually defenders do not win. So, I mean, going on to the attack on a defender side of the map where you are at a deficit, this makes a lot of sense, especially when we're in, this is this close of a game in a close balls.
I mean, it's a nice little halftime break. Everybody gets their orange slices, some Minute Maid apple juice.
Minute Maid apple. That's so specific.
Have you ever, did you know, like, play like youth soccer, youth like t-ball?
They never. Yeah, I played soccer, but like they never gave us apple juice. They gave us Gatorade and water.
I mean, that's like, part of it, but I mean, sometimes with like little youth leagues, you would have like dedicated snack parents, or like it would go around and it'd be your turn to like bring small bags of Cheez-Its or goldfish or apple slices or orange. It's a very like niche set of memories, but I mean, I who knows? I mean, I think Frijoles, I think orange slices and apple slices could sound pretty good to both of these teams right now.
Yeah,
be a nice break.
I like oranges. I eat oranges like, well, not every day because they kind of mess with my fingernails a little bit. Don't ask me how, but like, yeah, they mess with my fingernails. And I'm usually not a person who pays attention to my nose. Actually, that sounds really gross. I do pay attention to my nose. I do. I promise.
Yeah, well,
Yeah.
so unfortunately we don't get to see that little cool orange bar kind of fall down because it's been 60 seconds. I mean, there might be some technical thing going on. We don't really know, but we're still at a 4-2 split. And one that Frijoles, I mean, I was predicting that Turbo and Co would kind of come into this map, start to dominate because of their previous result, but that was blind. We were going off of the map results and the map results alone, so clearly Frijoles had something in their back pocket.
Yeah, I mean, we saw Frijoles a little bit kind of like plateau towards the end, but for the most part, I felt like they had like a really good attacking path, especially when it came to dealing with the early aggression and then the end of round aggression there from Turbo and Co. And being able to shut down their roamers when it mattered the most, and also some of their players coming up huge in 1vx's, so or at least 1v1s and winning most of their gunfights, which I think Turbo and Co could do a lot better at. Is just winning their gunfights. It's as simple as simple. But in games like this, where the opponent is shooting right back at you and their shots are just as accurate as yours, it can be quite tough. So I sympathize a little bit with Turbo and Co, but I do want to see some of those players on their roster step up.
I think it's one of those matches where the games are not defined by the gunfights, but potentially individual moment to moment. I think overall the game is still about, you know, positioning, especially was just how forward Turbo and Co were playing on their own. I think that could be a factor, what they were able to do on that roam. But I mean, again, the roam can still come down to trying to take these gunfights and whether or not you lose or win them. But we are back into the action. We're seeing Frijoles just head right back down to the basement. No surprise there. But I mean, they are bringing just kind of the same operators that Turbo and Co bring, but they do have the smoke.
Oh yeah, Turbo and Co, they ran the smoke on the first basement defense, and then after that they just kind of like ditched that whole idea. Or if they did, or if they did or didn't, I don't remember. But I know they did not play the smoke in a second round on basement. Actually, they probably did. Don't quote me on that. Don't quote me. I'm gonna look back on this VOD and then I'm gonna remember. I promise. I have a terrible.
We're etching that into stone.
Yeah, maybe. If I don't forget, told you, bad memory.
Well,
Terrible.
I mean, on the attack, I think the change that potentially Turbo will have is Dekebi. I feel like we didn't see that as much from Frijoles, so I mean, they'll have those impacting MPs that aren't used too much. I think Dekebi is still just kind of used for her phone calls. She's able to ring up every operator, give a general position, and if every one of these operators choose to waste just a little bit of time. And of course, if you're dead, you don't have hands to skip that phone call. So that is another buff that Dekebi got recently. But Anti, I don't know if that was sound or just premonition, but Mikey was waiting outside that window, and that does give away that, yeah, there was a roamer all around, but a beautiful shot from the Ash just drops Alibi on the ground, gives Turbo and Co the lead in this round, and very early on as well, they can more focus on their attack on the basement.
Yeah, it doesn't seem like there's any other roamers here from Frijoles neither, so Anti was just playing his position to waste time and maybe die. A minute has already gone by. This is not too uncommon on Oregon, where you see players like this anyways. So even though a minute has already gone by, Turbo and Co are really good. They really do have a big advantage in this round, just because that first pick on Anti. There's not going to be a lot of potential to come up for a flank, because usually all of the areas where you have a potential to flank from are shut down by the attackers. You have somebody on the bottom of on the laundry stairs. You have a player on the near the meeting area as well, on that big tower, and also some players on freezers. So every avenue that the defense here has to flank from, or even try and rotate and put pressure elsewhere onto this attack, it's already shut down. That's already been thought of as it is from other teams. But now we get out into a minute, or about 55 seconds, as we see Frijoles kind of like play into like their bunker strategy, where they're just waiting for the push to happen. They're going to try and play behind their utility. Their shields have been destroyed, so this freezer angle is going to be left exposed. But 40 seconds left, this is going to get nice.
little angle from Native, though, might go unaccounted from Turbo because it's just so small. So look at, maybe it'll net this defense a kill and swing it right in their favor, but who knows? We are getting to the execution phase, and Frijoles are another player down. Native tried to use that angle, but it didn't work out in that scenario. Maybe Jaeger will be the hero. No, it is just two members of Frijoles trying to counteract this large attack. And well, there goes two. The shotguns are gonna fire away, and now Carnage has to get that diffuser down if they want to. And all Dally needs to do is find that diffuser, take out Carnage, and this round potentially will be theirs. No, Diana, looking down the main hallway, is able to find the last defenders. So amazingly closer than any of us would have thought, but Frijoles were inches away from taking that round away.
Is it me, or was I the only one like afraid because of like the Habana getting flashed as her teammates are down, and the smoke is still in small closet with the shotgun just shooting at everything? But luckily, by the time she got unflashed, she was able to get that kill into the smoke. About 0 seconds up in the clock. Just so happened that, again, I mean, he rotated right into a position where the Ayana was holding. You think that, even because he didn't have the intel, so I understood why he pushed into that hallway, you're just rushing yourself to try and find that play early enough. If he gives it that kill into the Ayana, fine, because it does leave the Habana in a worse position because she still has the plant, and Dolly's still, like, just rushing right at you from that main hallway, and you can oftentimes battle in that gunfight. Fine, that's good. I mean, I understand it, but I mean, that round could have gone one of two ways. But again, I mean, that all really kick-started once Native died on that shield inside of that main hallway, denying his potential to really hold off that freezer push properly. And I like that shield, but again, Native got dealt with in that position quite quickly by Turbo and Co. And a lot of their map control just helped them get onto that site very quickly and be not very quickly because we got 0 seconds, but helped them get onto the site comfortably enough. Yeah.
Mikey shoots out the window, but Gally just waiting around the corner. I think the gold that was waiting outside that window has actually disappeared. It was a rainbow illusion. There is no gold at the end of the rainbow. Dally realizes that, and now just rotates actually over to the main door. So he's still going to try to wreak havoc on these players, but he's being hunted. Turbo and Co now up to that second floor. They're just going to continue droning out. If Mikey is awarded another roamer for free with another great shot, well, I mean, that's Frijoles. You know, the fool me once, shame on you, fool me twice, shame on me. Dally gets an engagement and cannot win it. It's Mikey for the second time taking out Frijoles, an individual player all alone trying to get a multitude of kills. Doesn't happen, and now Frijoles again have to have their basement defense without a play.
Yeah. I would have liked it for Dolly to try and just run back into site maybe, or play in another position that wasn't so aggressive, because he just gave away his life up for free. Like you mentioned, that's one player down in his basement defense, just like how it was in the very last round. Turbo and Cole looking to tie up the game, flashes go out to Burner will mine this to help this nade go Spiker and Freezer. And again, it looks like it's the same type of push. I feel like they are going to have a player rotate towards the back pillar, because that position was very crucial in the last round in helping Turbo and Cole look out for their own team.
Now we're reaching to the final parts of the round. Will the frag grenade find anything? Will it get any utility? It does drop the shield, so Native cannot play, but maybe that was a boon for them. They get the kill onto Mikey, but try to peek the exact same angle, and it's Turbo and Co. again in a situation that heavily favors them, and they don't make it close this time. They win the second basement attack, so we are tied up at 4-4, and Frijoles should not try the same site again. At least I hope not. Maybe they'll get a little bit more luckier on defenses. You know, the advantage they once had disappeared. It's up in smoke.
Yeah. I mean, again, it's a rinse and repeat of that last round. They give away the first pick. The attack comes from all different types of angles. Their setup is going to complete pieces, dealt with pretty comfortably. They're from Turbo and Co. The shields gone. The players behind those shields gone. Everything gone. The time wasting util from the defense doesn't matter because Turbo and Co. have enough time to wait it out and then be able to attack once that once those smoke grenades disappear. And again, we don't see, like you mentioned, we won't hopefully see. It is a hope, and your hope has come true. Your dreams do come true. As we do get this kid's site.
10 seconds left.
Wish upon a star on the most obvious thing in the world, and you might get it. Now, that's probably not the stars doing, but if you want to think that, then by all means, because Placata is going to go for a little bit of a peek with the TCSG. It's going to be a high risk, high reward. And I want you to take a look at the left side of your screen. No damage. And Placata's still alive, so they could get revived, but in hindsight, maybe too risky to run it with a shotgun of that type of sorts.
Yeah, I mean, the TCSG is known as a sniper shotgun. You can shoot from range. It just so happened that Placata missed every single one of his shots. And that happens. No shade from me. I promise, I swear to God. Yeah, but like, again, I mean, he just missed every single shot. Like you mentioned, it's a risk, it's a high risk, high reward type of deal, right? You get one kill and everybody's like praising you and everybody's singing your name, singing hallelujah. But he didn't get a kill, he didn't do a single piece of damage. And again, Frijoles give away that first pick. And that means that a lot of the map control that Placata was like holding, which was that master bedroom side, wasn't necessarily holding it because he gave away his life for free. That is all Turbo and Co. That whole area of the map is all blue at the moment.
They are just essentially almost inside of the site with just how much time is remaining. Frijoles can't really do much but try to defend. The onslaught that is coming. Carnage just walks into sight, tries to put the diffuser down, but the C4 underneath will blow up his sneakers. Frijoles have a chance actually winning this round, but now that you lose Dally, you put all your trust in Anti, and now Turbo's actually going to be able to fire back in this situation. So Frijoles' lead could be diminished in this very next 30 seconds as Anti has to complete the 1v3. He gives away his position and actually spots Turbo, but cannot re-peek the same angle as Thatcher will be watching, and now just has to hold some sort of angle as there is a player from Turbo & Co. on every single one of them. He's very close to finding a character, but cannot get a single one of them, Suga. So Frijoles, maybe it's those opening deaths, maybe it's just their inability to actually deal with Turbo & Co.'s onslaught of an execution, but clearly something is going wrong on the defense.
It's for sure just like the early deaths. I think just giving up those early deaths give so much advantages towards the attack, and plus a lot of map control to them as well. And then there's no trade value in a lot of the deaths that happen from Frijoles once they do give that first pick up. So like you get nothing for doing those early challenges early on from the defense here for Frijoles. And I would have liked them to go for maybe a more default setup there towards trophy to the 9 master bedroom instead of going for a peak like that, because they've given up the early pick out of like what was that 4-2. We were in round 6, so going on 7 now. It's like 4, so we've only played like
3 rounds.
We played 3 rounds.
So
so like
have won 3 in a row.
Yeah, so like again, or 3 in a row? I thought yeah, 3. You're right. I can't count. But yeah, 3 in a row.
Attacker's objective is to locate a
And
bomb
in all 3 of those rounds, they've given up the first pick. And so there needs to be some discussion going on about how aggressive they're playing early on and how isolated they are when it comes to that early aggression, because it happens a lot. There's no trades almost immediately after someone dies, and they give up a lot of map control doing that. So it doesn't look like they're going for that early aggression again, apart from Anti here on the top of Freezer stairs. But one can hope that they don't give up the first pick again.
Right, so on basement, we all look to one player, and that is Mike. He's going to go in the same situation. He's going to head up to the dorms, but Frijoles, they're playing a different game. They're playing actually inside of the site, doing what a lot of teams do. on Oregon basement, and that's just wait for the attack to actually come to you, because it takes a lot of time to actually set up the execution, communicate what they want to do. So Turbo and Co, though, it wouldn't surprise me if they just kind of go for it all right here. Set up their actual execution with about a minute left in the round. Maybe give them enough time to catch a Frijoles player on a rotate or not. But you can just tell they're being a little apprehensive, knowing that Frijoles are a team that strays a little bit farther than they should. But they're playing a little bit out of their ordering. Like I said, everybody is just hanging out in sight, doing their best imitation of an anchor player, and it might be the best thing for this situation. We'll have to see.
I want to see how Turbo and Co did with this, because I remember when they did the same thing on basement, where they were running like early, like not early, but when they were running like aggressive roam strat, heavy strat, roam strats, whatever. Say strat. I think it's shot every time I say strat, but they were doing the same thing that Frijoles was doing, which was just like giving up early picks. And on the basement site, on their last defense on the same site, they decided to go for a more anchor heavy style of play, and Frijoles pulled that apart. So I want to see how Turbo and Co deal with it. They're off to a pretty good start, it seems. Elbow is completely clear. You don't have the shield there anymore. You have the Ash contesting for that construct control. And you also have two players on those rear stage stairs. We're now getting into the execution part, as we are in about 35 seconds left to go. We see the opening kicks for Turbo and Co. They have to open up this elbow angle where Dolly is playing in. Dolly's now dead, and they give up so much of the site control, doing that the rush down the main hallway completely, well, in control of the attack. And Turbo and Co put themselves on match point. Everything just fell apart there.
When a round ends on a melee kill, that's how you kind of know it was a little bit of a stomp from the side that won. So, I mean, Frijoles, the thing that changed from that one, the other rounds in that one, they didn't give away a essentially free pick for the enemy. But, I mean, objectively, that round felt worse than the previous one. So, you know, that was the one difference, but that was not the key of Turbo and Co winning all of these attacks. There must be some sort of disconnect from Frijoles in communicating when that execution happening. There's so much chaos going on the site that Turbo and Co are kind of able to control. You see just how aggressive they are by using the sound, by taking advantage of Frijoles lapses in just very small areas on the actual site. That's when Turbo Co are able to take these little instances of map control, get a little bit of a leg up, and then just snowball their way towards a round victory. But they are one away from going on and facing not Favelas, but Hong Kong Rebels for their spot in SCS. Yes, Favelas got upset by Hong Kong Rebel, and that is a surprise to me. Maybe it's a surprise to you, but who knows? As well, we'll see who their the team that they're going to play.
Toss up, right, between Turbo and Co now and Frijoles. Turbo and Co have that javelin, and they're swinging it, and Frijoles are kind of like trying to dodge it. They're trying to do a ballet, tiptoe around the rainbow type deal. At the moment, they're getting hit every single time. So, it's not working. These defenses aren't working. They try to go for a more turtle-heavy, more passive defense on basement, and it doesn't work. I mean, they get the first pick now on Meeting Kitchen. And that's onto Turbo, so that gets rid of the Zofia, that gets rid of a lot of utility, those concussives that can help them with the map control that they're contesting. And the Frijoles are just stopping them here on these entries. Yeah.
Like a brick wall.
Yep.
Sugar. It just leaves Mikey, and it seems that, you know, this site being defender-sided, Frijoles take absolute advantage of that. A flawless round, back-to-back, different sides getting that flawless round. So you could not have two different rounds than that one. But Frijoles, they get to, well, max regulation. We're seeing that we're one round away from overtime, but we're also one round away from Turbo and Co just sealing this one off for good. So, like you said, it's a little bit of a toss-up, but Kids Dorm, Frijoles haven't had success previously on these more defender-sided maps that teams prefer, like basement, like dorms, so the odds are not on their side, but who knows what's gonna happen. It's Rainbow Six Siege, we're in Quals, you gotta try your heart out.
You gotta try your heart out. I would think so. I'd hope so.
Of course.
SCS, you got your you know, you have the potential of playing against OXG and other invited teams. I won't spoil it. I don't think I'm allowed to.
No, I don't think you are allowed to.
I'm chaotic energy. I'll do it anyways.
No, look, no, you can't just breach.
5 seconds left.
It's not an idea, but breach trust in between, you know, everybody.
I don't have
You
a
guys.
contract.
To locate a bomb and defuse it.
All right, so now Shugo will be taken away
Oh.
from the production stream.
I'm kidding, Ferme. Please don't fire me. I'm not even on the payroll at all.
Yeah. Well, SCS this year is all volunteer work. So we're doing this because we love casting. It's fun to see these two teams duke it out and just love Rainbow Six Siege, love casting. We're all here because we enjoy it. That is.
Yeah. I like casting. You like casting.
I hope
Ferme
so.
likes to cast.
Ferme likes to do Ferme. He's all over. We haven't seen Ferme cast since like SCS season 2 or whatever, but well, Ferme's not here. You and I are here. We're casting Turbo and Co. We're casting Frijoles. We're not seeing the explosive entries that we were in the previous couple rounds. It's Frijoles just reneging back to the rounds that they've had previously, where they want to hold back, not be too far forward. But I mean, Dally could absolutely undo everything I've said so. He's holding by the freezer stairs, not moving in an instant. But on the other side, I mean, that's a smoke completely gone. And if you lose a couple more players, Frijoles might be looking at a map loss.
Like that nade from underneath to remove that shield that's facing Trophy, but Frijoles find 2 back. And it's a 3v3 between Turbo and Co and Frijoles. Now we get to see what the brunt of all that pressure is going to do here for Turbo and Co. Is they have positions on lock, but they don't really have an execution set in stone at the moment. They have a player on the top of white, a player on the breach in games, and they know that a player is an addict. Spiker decides to take a one-on-one gunfight with the players by the dorms or the big window area. He gets dealt with by Native. And again, the player in addict is such a nuisance to this push over by games because they can't go in there and just play off it because they know that Stu is there and that he can swing and just go off it. So they have to potentially deal with him, but they still have him in that attic area. Finally, he's dead. Anti is there for the refrag. It's a 1v2. Turbo is battling his demons out here. Dude is struggling, and Frijoles make him suffer. Put him in the dirt as we go into OT.
Of course, what else between map 3? And I mean, we're not at the edge of the close quarterfinals, but at this point, every single round matters. Every single firefight that goes on between these two teams is going to make an impact. Frijoles get to stay on the defense, and they choose to go back to dorms, a site that they just won in the last round. So, I mean, if they're able to actually put together a round tree, something they've previously been unable to do, that could put Turbo and Co in a corner, because the attack is where they've kind of got all their momentum. On the defense, Turbo and Co, I mean, were only able to claim 2. And one of those was on meeting, the one that Frijoles was able to get. But, I mean, in the end, they both went 4-2 on the attack. So I think whoever got defense was always going to have that inherent advantage.
Defense has kind of been weird here at Oregon, because when I look at Oregon and when I think of what type of map it is, it's a staple map in a competitive scene, but it's also a staple map for the defenders.
10 seconds remaining.
Like, basement, kids, both defender-sided site. And both teams have kind of like struggled when it came to like holding basement and when it came to holding kids. But when it came to like holding like the tertiary site meeting kitchen, they're both really good on that site, and that's kind of odd. I just wanted to throw that out there. Kind of odd to see. They're both, I think, 100% win rate on kitchen meeting, but basement and kids are kind of like wishy-washy.
Yeah, but you're always going to feel more confident on these sites, because a lot of times
Yeah.
with how little you go to those sites, it might be a fluke, or it might just be, you know, some random things happen because both teams aren't super comfortable on that site. So you don't want to take the risk, and you'd rather go for dorms, which you have a definite set strategy, which you have run probably hundreds of times before. So, I mean, the same old is always going to take precedent over something a little bit more risky. But, I mean, Dally, once again, is off-site. Nobody's actually hunting him down, but if he doesn't emerge in time, Frijoles could be the victim of another death if they don't deal with this breach properly. And that could spiral offwards, but at this point, it's anybody's game. There's a lot of shields, a lot of ADSs, Banshees, that Turbo and Co have to deal. So we won't see the execution just yet. There's so much utility that they still have to destroy. You see RP actually tried to destroy the ADSs, deal with them. The shield did get dropped, but so did RP. He's going to be able to get revived, but still, that is a blow to the Turbo and Co momentum.
It is a blow, but you also get rid of some important utility. Removing that shield makes that attic position so much harder because you don't have that extra bit of security to hide behind that shield and play that attic position to a T. NATO is down, so that removes the why smoke grenades go off to push that player off of that white position and maybe enable a rush, or actually enable a rush around into the actual defuse, but the defuse goes down. Dally gets the planter, but after the defuse has gone down, now we get into a 4v2 theoretically as Chicago is down on the ground. Now a 4v1, 3v1 as we see Dally try and battle his demons on the flank of first stairs. Pulls out the pistol, does a little bit of damage to the Thatcher, but it's getting a little bit desperate here as he's stuck battling his demons.
Dally just cannot hit the shots in that situation, so Turbo and Co are able to grab that one by the horns, get a victory, and now are heading back to the defense on their side. So, I mean, the choice is theirs, which site they truly want to head to, basement or kids. Right now, they are leaning towards that basement side, but Turbo and Co are actually going to opt to a time out. So, I mean, they still have it. Why not use it? You're at the precipice of, honestly, this entire series, and all you need is one more round to put you over the edge. Who do you believe in? Going into this last round, we've seen Frijoles on the defensive line, but their attack is definitely strong, going up against a Turbo and Co defense that has been a little lackluster here and there. Do you see Turbo and Co clinching out this round or the next one, or Frijoles destined for the comeback?
It depends on the site. If we go basement, then I'm gonna reluctantly choose Frijoles to win, because basement has been a weird site for both defenses, not just Turbo and Co. Frijoles were on the struggle bus on that defense, and they ran two different types of defenses on the basement defenses, and they still lost them in like pretty dominant fashion. So I don't really know if they go basement. My hopes for them are not there, but if they go to any other site, okay, they're going basement. Yeah, I think Frijoles are gonna
protect your
sorry.
bombs from
That was like instant. I'm sorry, but like I don't really trust the basement site defense in either one of these. They don't have a good win rate so far in this matchup. So I think it's fair to say that. But it can all change it over to no team. Never know.
Yeah. That's the one thing about when you kind of get to these magical moments, you can rely on what you've seen before. It's a good thing to probably rely on that, but there's always just this little bit of magic that you see that you never know truly what to expect, and sometimes something out of the ordinary will happen. Maybe it's a 1v3 clutch that happens to potentially put Turbo and Co all the way to the end. Something along those lines is always just a little bit destined to happen on some of these situations. But so far, Turbo and Co are simply just relying on, you know, what they had in the past. Whether you had Spiker using their utility over in Dining, you had RP by their side. Mike is actually on more of an anchor operator. So I think that, is it going to indicate that they're going to head off site?
No. They're also not running in Izami. I remember they ran the Izami like 3 out of 3 times in the basement. Could be wrong about that. but I'm not wrong about the first pick. RP dies, and that removes a gun, mainly, off of the alibi who's already gone here. And that leaves Turbo Co. with an early man disadvantage with under a minute. Not with a minute not even having gone by just yet.
I mean, losing somebody like RP, like that, this early. We've seen Frijoles lose people and try to fight their way back, but overall, it's always been just a loss for them. So Turbo Co. following the pattern wouldn't be too surprising, but I mean, it's basement. Frijoles have to set up a good execution, and going through one less player will always help you out in these situations. But I think the plant denial, a C4, 2 C4s, 3 smoke canisters, you still have to deal with Spiker on the top floor. What are Frijoles going to do when the actual time comes to get inside that site? Are they going to have drones on Spiker? Because we have seen he has crept up behind this team and put a stop to their shenanigans, and it's close to happening again. I mean, I don't like the odds here.
I think he's just sneaking down the white stairs, and I'm not liking this. Neither! He gets one! Can't grab the second. And Placado is there for the refrag, so there to spare his teammates' blushes, as that almost got fairly close to his second kill there from Spiker. Got one for his troubles, removed the Habana, and the hatch is not open, so they can't successfully pull off a freezer execute, or at least they think they can't because, well, no, they don't think they can. They can't because they can't get the freezer hatch open and put more pressure into the Kaid, who's playing near that doorway. So that's absolutely huge for Spiker to go for that final first kill, and yes, he does die, but you remove the only heartbreaker here for the attack with about 30 seconds left to go.
Now we get down to the thick of things. Sugar Mikey is just gonna look away at the last second, but it doesn't matter. He swings right back around, and now at a 2v2, Dally doesn't look in the corner, and Turbo and Co. need to finish off Antes to solidify their continued run in the qualifiers. They do win Oregon and go on to face Hong Kong Rebels in the next match.
Jesus Christ. Okay. Give me a second.
Gotta take a breather after that one.
Yeah. That got really scary at the end, especially when, like, they couldn't successfully pull off a freezer execute the way that they wanted to. And when we have seen basement, the basement defense is being run by both of these teams, the main execute that what we saw Turbo and Co run and what we saw them be so successful at was like a main stairs freezer split push. Frijoles tried to do something like that. They were mainly attacking for freezer, and they had somebody on the rear stage stairs just so they could pressure into that back site area, put some pressure in the main hall, and cut off some rotations in between the sites. But yeah, it got a little bit rough. It was close. It got a little bit rough once they lost the Habana. They couldn't, and plus they already wasted so much utility in trying to remove the Kaid Claw in the first place. So there you go. I mean, that's how the cookie crumbles, and Turbo and Co. take map number 3 here on Oregon, and they will face the Hong Kong Rebels, who, like Light Rose mentioned, they just beat the Favelas 2-1.
A big upset, but I mean, taking down Turbo and Co., that's a different team. I think Turbo and Co. had a little bit better track record going into the qualifiers, but these were two definitely top teams that are all going to fight their way towards the end, but we're so close to the end. Whoever wins the next series between Hong Kong Rebels, between Turbo and Co. will qualify for SCS. As you stay tuned to your seat, we have that match right after this break.
On a double, though, and he finds a third to the smoke. Just an ult. Getting it to 3K with an ult. With 3 seconds left,